Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United hosting Arsenal in the Premier League. The clash of the Titans. Yeah, the two title contenders themselves.
Let's start with that. With 14th.
Is this not 2002 or whatever? Oh, 2, yeah.
No. Arsenal are barely in a title race, and
we're in a race to the mid-table at
We're
best.
closer to a championship title race than we are a Premier League title race.
That says it all. Joining me as always is Mr. Joe Smith.
Hello.
Joe,
Yeah.
You're right. We're not in a title race.
No.
We're not even in a top half of the table race. The mighty have well and truly fallen. But there's one thing this fixture can offer us. Yeah, it can help us restore a bit of pride. We're not going to get relegated. And there's a part of me that thinks, who cares if we actually finish 12th or 13th? What does it matter? But you don't just want to keep losing football matches. You want to beat teams. You want to beat big teams. And Arsenal are a big team. We've got a bit of a history with them. We've got rivalry. Yeah, you remember it well. The 21-man brawl that Chucky started. You remember the Battle of the Buffet and all that, yeah? You were there. It'd be good to get a result against them, wouldn't it?
It would. And also, we need some moments that things don't feel shit. It's important that Amorim doesn't just oversee a completely joyless final 3 months of the season.
I hear that.
For his sake, for our sake, for the club's sake, for the players' sake. You know, we do need some moments where you go, well, you know what, we were terrible, but. And at the minute, we haven't had any of those buts since the last Arsenal game. That FA Cup game that we beat them was the last time you go, well, it was terrible, but do you remember that week when we drew with Liverpool and beat Arsenal?
Yeah, that's true.
Since then, it's been like, you know, I thought the game against Sociedad was one of our better performances since then. And it wasn't great. It was just all right. You know, we could do with a couple of moments of sort of signpost moments where you go, actually, here's why Ruben Amorim deserves next season. And, you know, we don't want this growing swell of people going, well, we've been crap for ages and he's not turning it around, etc. These things start to snowball, don't they? So we do need to play for a bit of pride. But it's more than just pride. It's also Amorim's showing the players and the world that we can compete. We do need that. I do think, honestly, if it's just, let's say we go out to Sociedad next week and we just have the rest of the season being these kind of Crystal Palace-esque performances, it's going to be really, really horrible by the end of the year. So these big games as well, they count for a little bit extra because you're playing against those teams 21 points ahead of us that are actually in a title race or have been up until recently. If you can look good against these, we can delude ourselves into thinking we're not as far away from, you know, challenging for, let's start with maybe Europe, than we think we are, or than we feel like we are right now. So, yeah, I think that it's quite a big game, even though in one sense, mathematically, it's almost irrelevant. I think for the rest of everything else about Man United, it's actually pretty big.
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, it's a big bugbear of mine, especially at Old Trafford, what has gone on this season, not just under Ruben Amorim, but it's continued under Ruben Amorim, but also under Erik ten Hag as well. So many teams come to Old Trafford now and just don't get out of second gear and just win easily. Yeah. And I'm not just talking about the likes of Liverpool, obviously, who've had a result going back under ten Hag, Spurs, who aren't the best team. They're having a bad season, but they had a relatively easy day of it. I know, obviously, Bruno Fernandes got sent off, but then you look at Bournemouth again, an easy win. Palace was relatively easy for him, wasn't it? Yeah. There's been Brighton. I mean, there's been far too many games where you've gone, United didn't really turn up at Old Trafford. I mean, I could go on and on and on because there's been a lot, but I won't. I want to see a performance. I want to see us sort of taking the game to Arsenal. It was, you're right, at the Emirates in the FA Cup, it was gritty, wasn't it? I know it didn't account for anything because we got knocked out the other week off Fulham, but it was good to see that. It gave us a little bit of positivity. It gave us maybe a little bit more belief in what this manager is trying to do for anyone who's doubting him, and a bit of confidence for the players, and we could do with a little bit of that because it's been in short supply this season. Look, Ruben Amorim was asked about what Mikel Arteta is doing at Arsenal, and he said, like, you know, was asked, I'm paraphrasing here, but asked, is it something like you could look to emulate, or something that you could do here, or maybe, you know, is that some sort of the formula that might work at United? I think that was what was sort of being suggested, but he was saying that he won't get the time that Arteta's had. He won't get the time that Arteta at Manchester United that Arteta's had at Arsenal, because I know Arteta won the FA Cup in his first 6 months, but then I think Arsenal finished was 8th and 5th, I think it was, or something like that. So they didn't have an easy run of it in the league, and you look at some of those performances, some of the results they had during that time as well. It was pretty shocking for a club the size of Arsenal. When you look at it now, and you look at the last few seasons in particular, Arsenal they've been in a title race every season for the last 3 seasons. Now, you might argue, well, they didn't win it and they haven't won out and they haven't really pushed the winners that much, but they've been the only reason we've had any title races over the last 3 years, because no one else has stepped up. And I'm no Arsenal fan by any stretch of the imagination. I can't stand them, but you have to be honest about it and say if it wasn't for them, then City would have had 2 processions and Liverpool would have had the league wrapped up by February. At least they're the ones making a go of it. Do you think that you can look at that with maybe even a little bit of like the sort of the graphics suggest, a little bit of envy?
I think we could do with emulating a lot of what Arsenal have done. Not everything, and obviously you want to go one step further and win stuff, because at the minute it is that glaring omission on Arteta's last 5 years now. They've not won anything since Arsenal actually got good. They've not won anything. They won that FA Cup when they were still like us, not this bad, but a little bit inconsistent and not particularly good. But we do need to kind of copy that formula. It's not easy going from not winning titles and not challenging really for a decade to all of a sudden be challenging again. Like, I think under Solskjaer we finished second. It wasn't, post kind of February the title race was over really.
Yeah, it was.
The same with Jose, even more so with Jose. I never felt like we had any chance.
There was that game on the. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you.
No, go on.
There was a game at Old Trafford which it was quite early-ish in the season where they beat us at Old Trafford City under Jose, and you felt like that was it then.
Yeah, and it never felt like Arsenal, genuinely, this season less so, but the last 2 seasons, going into the last couple of weeks, could win the league. The proper title races. And United need to be back up there, winning 85 plus points a season. We've not done that since Sir Alex left. I think 81 is the most that we've got under Jose. And again, I think City got 90 odd that season.
They got 100, didn't they? They did 9 points above us.
So we've never been close, and we do kind of have to copy that a little bit. But again, like Amram said, you don't get that same time. You don't get to finish 8th twice. He's going to be lucky if he gets to finish 15th this season. I think he will. But if it doesn't have a dramatic improvement next season, certainly the one after that, then he won't be here, which is a shame, and he should be given more time. But let's try and copy the things they have done, what they did really well, clear the old deadwood out, bring in younger players, bring in more, not desperate, but people who are more keen to impress. Youngsters who haven't been there and done it and who aren't jaded by the fact that I used to play for Real Madrid, now I'm finishing 14th. You can't have that really. You need people who are going, we're all pulling in the same direction, trying to win things for the first time or, early on in our careers. And I think we're slowly doing that. And you can see the man behind us there, Chido Obi, is a good example of that. He left Arsenal to come to Man United, probably because he wants to help us push on and rebuild and get into the squad. So obviously we'll have a look at starting 11s in a second. But I do think that United need to not copy Arsenal, but certainly look at what they've done and see what we can pick and choose and try and help ourselves get back up there.
Yeah, you could see us doing a similar or having a similar approach to Arsenal. Arsenal have mixed it up a lot in the transfer window, haven't they? Transfer market, because they have backed Arteta. They've spent a lot of money. Yeah, they have. You look at how much they spent on Declan Rice, it's 100 odd million. I think they've had other players that have come in. Obviously, Havertz was quite a bit of money, one or two others as well. Where they've brought in players as well, where they've brought in a player like Aaron Ramsdale and then replaced him, which is, sometimes managers struggle to do that, don't they? They'll buy a player and then that'll be it. Well, you're stuck with that goalkeeper out the defender. If he's your guy up, but it shows a lot of faith when the ball go, actually, if your manager goes, look, I want to replace him, I think actually he's not the right guy. And they've done that as well.
He really tricked the board with that, didn't he? He was the old classic, no, I'll still stroke the old dog as well. I'll still take the old dog out for a walk. I'll have 2 number ones.
I might even sub him during the game.
And then actually it was like, fuck the old dog. Raya's in goal now. I hate the old dog. He's boring. He smells and he's got grey hair.
And I always thought that was a bit of a sideways step, but I think it was the right move, to be fair. I think it was a bit better than that. Plus, like you mentioned, they brought in the youngsters, the kid Ethan Nwere and Miles Lewis-Skelly have come in, and they've looked like, I know obviously Lewis-Skelly's had a red card recently, but they've looked the business, haven't they? They've mixed it up quite well, to be fair to Arsenal, even though it pains me to say it. You mentioned Chido. With all that being said, let's get into Predicted 11s. Before we do though, I just want to remind everyone, get your phones out, film yourselves in landscape for 30 seconds, giving us your score predictions, and send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. We'll use that as part of our pre-match build-up on the watch-along, and who knows, maybe we can get you in the studio as well, getting you as part of the preview. We've done that in the past with people who've sent us their score predictions, so send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Give us your style 11.
Yeah, so I don't... We mentioned Chido. I think he'll definitely appear. I think he'll come on. I don't think he'll start. It's very much as few rotations as we can make from Thursday night, basically. So obviously, Dorgu has to come out because he's suspended. To kind of make it all work, I've brought Maguire back in. I'm not 100% sure he'll be fit, but I'm hoping he will be. So it's basically Dorgu out, Maguire in, and otherwise unchanged from the team that faced Sociedad. So I just think we'll try and keep a bit of consistency. I don't see Eriksen starting. I don't think he's got the legs to match Arsenal's intensity. And Garnacho, I know he's been poor recently, but he has looked dangerous against Arsenal in the past. Højlund got the goal against him in pre-season. Maybe that'll be somewhere in the back of his mind about how he can turn his form around. Probably not, but I think we're not going to start Chido. So, and he ain't got many fit. I think it will look something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, mine's slightly. I get your point, and because of the injuries, there's not that many to choose from.
Yeah.
He couldn't when he was asked in his press conference. I don't think he could give us a full answer on Maguire. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think maybe someone like Heaven might end up coming in.
You got some right players.
I think
Heaven,
he might.
Collier,
might turn
Chido.
to youth. In midfield, Casemiro just played in San Sebastian. Can he play another game so soon after that?
Probably
no,
not.
I don't think he can. So maybe someone like Toby Collier can come in who has got legs, and you need some legs in that team, in that midfield. In terms of the front three, or the attack, Højlund obviously is it's an issue what's going on with Rasmus Højlund. Whether you blame him, whether you blame those around him, whether you blame both. He outscored for 19 games, and now you've got this sort of sideshow of him and Dolo had a bit of a row that the manager spoke about not being angry with each other, not fighting with each other. We know him and Garnacho just don't get along anymore. You can see there's a lot of issues there, not passing to each other, and Højlund losing his rag with him almost constantly. And excuse me, bit of windy pops. I wonder whether the manager might just think, you know what, because of the fact he's not scoring goals, because you've got all these dramas going on, because of everything that's going on, and you've got a player who, in Chido, is very, very young, very unproven, but at least against Fulham looked all right after those initial 10-15 minutes when he was just getting into the game and barely touched it. Once he got going, he looked quite lively. Maybe it might be time to just give him an opportunity. I'm sort of 50-50 on that. I think it could go either way, but I wouldn't be that surprised if he just went, you know what, this is a game that we need a result in, and I've got a better chance of getting a result with a striker who, at the very least, has confidence. You think Chido would have confidence, and from what we've seen in the academy and even that cameo against Fulham, he does seem to have that. Højlund at the minute, it's just horrible, isn't it? It's sad to see. It is, because there's a player there, but we ain't seen the best of him at all, and I worry that we might not even end up seeing the best of him during his time at United. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know your predicted 11s, your scores as well. Don't forget you can send them to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. A 30-second video. Arsenal. So, weird team, aren't they? Arsenal. They've just had, I think, was it their biggest ever Champions League win?
I think the biggest ever away knockout win in the Champions League.
Really?
For any team. 7-1 away, yeah. Pretty good, isn't
Just
it?
trying to think.
Well, you're not going to find a better one, so...
What about the time we beat PSG?
8-0.
3-2.
Carry on.
So they've just had that result,
Yeah.
7-1 away at PSV. Well done. And, we're all impressed.
Yeah. Bothered.
No one cares. Yeah. But in the league, they've been struggling a little bit. Been a bit up and down, haven't they?
Yeah.
They haven't got a striker. They're struggling for goals, and they've had to sort of mix things up a little bit. Obviously, they're smashing it in Europe in terms of goals, but in the Premier League, I think it has been a bit of a problem for him. What do you make of this Arsenal team at the minute?
They're good against us, which annoys me. We really struggled to beat them. I know we beat them in the FA Cup last time out, but I think generally, Arteta's won 7 of his 10 Premier League games against United, which doesn't leave much room for us to do any winning in there, does it? So it's going to be a difficult game. I'd take a draw, just something where they don't beat us again, because they just beat us all the time in the league.
I think a draw would be a good result for United, the way we're playing at the minute.
And they're not at their best. They're missing players. Even when they're fully fit, they lack a striker. And now even their sort of non-strikers are injured. So it is going to be hopefully slightly easier to defend against them. It's just, how do we get goals? I know that they're struggling to score in the Premier League, but when's the last time we scored 7? They did it this week against a top flight team.
Barnsley.
When was that?
August, I think.
Shocking.
Something like that.
But that's what they League One.
Yeah, so
When's the last time we scored? It's probably Southampton, isn't it? The last time we scored 7 against a top flight side.
It's not a thing, is it, really?
We just don't do it.
Do you know what I mean? You're right. I
So-
mean, I'm messing about when I say Barnsley. It's not
well, we
thing.
did do it, didn't we? But
It's not something that we do.
No, it's not at all.
And, United have struggled for goals this season. The only saving grace is in the Premier League recently. Arsenal have struggled as well. So, who knows? Maybe a nice, tasty 0-0 is on the horizon.
I'll take it.
Go on then, Joe. Give us your score prediction.
I do think it's going to be tight. And actually, I think we're going to score a goal as well. So I am going to say 1-1. I think it's going to be a cagey, low-scoring game. Maybe a few chances missed. I think Onana's due a good game. So maybe a 1-1 with a decent performance from Onana, and United show a little bit of fight as well. 1-1.
I remember some recently, it was about 2 years ago. Do you remember when was it like the iPhone or something where you got the U2's latest album?
It was iTunes, wasn't it?
iTunes, sorry,
Yeah,
and you
the
got
iPhone.
U2's album like without asking for it. You just got it with it. Someone compared Arsenal versus United to that, to getting like the album of someone that used to be alright, that you probably used to like, but now you'd be like, what is this? Yeah. And I think that's what Arsenal versus United has become. It used to be top of the table clash, loads of stars, best games of football, the rivals, the rivalry that's never been matched in the Premier League era. From what was it, 1996 to 2004, the only two teams that won the Premier League were United and Arsenal. And also, it was quite mixed up as well. I know United won it most seasons, but it wasn't just United won like 8 and then Arsenal won 1 or whatever. It was back and forth, like you say. We did 3 in a row, and then they did that one where they drew 12 games. There was a lot going on. Whereas now, it's just like, who cares almost? I think, call me insane, and I'll probably be eating my words after about 3 minutes, but I think we can get a result here. I think, despite the fact that they're right near the top of the table and they've just had that big win in Holland, I think we can get something out of this. I'm going to go 1-0 United. I'd sack it. I'm sick of predicting losses, Joe.
No, I like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0. Bruno Penn. Maybe we'll get a goal. Or, you know what, even better? Can you imagine if Chido scores the winner?
I could see that.
Like a Chido winner. A
little
95th
tapping
minute.
from a yard out.
Chido winner, a little tapping. I'd love that.
I could see that.
Honestly, that'd be the best thing that's ever happened to me. Joe, always a pleasure, never a chore. Go and check him out on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. You know where to find me. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. This has been a preview. Manchester United versus Arsenal. Thanks for watching.